I have a lie detector system. It can hear the thoughts of people who lie. When my boyfriend sincerely proposed to me, I heard his true thoughts at that moment. Hurry up and say yes, so I can elope with your sister. How else would she agree to marry me if I don't humiliate you properly? I agreed without batting an eye, but at the wedding, I fled before he could say I do. Later, this wedding became the talk of the town. The groom was bride-napped, and the bride ran away. Marry him. Marry him. The onlookers were exhilarated, encircling Jason and me as they chanted. My long-absent boyfriend Jason had just met me at the airport when, holding a rose gold ring box, he knelt on one knee to propose, his gaze filled with tender affection. He said to me, "Victoria, marry me." The straightforward declaration of love amplified the crowd's screams. Jason and I had been dating for 2 years. Though the sudden proposal caught me off guard, the idea of us discussing marriage seemed like a natural progression. So, under Jason's eager anticipation, I nodded and extended my hand, letting him slide the ring onto my ring finger. "Victoria, I can't wait to marry you. I'll give you a lifetime of happiness." Just then, the lie detector system I had bound suddenly activated, revealing his true thoughts. "I can't wait to escape this wedding. I'll give you an embarrassment you'll never forget." I froze, my gaze turning unfamiliar as I looked at him. "Victoria, what's going on? Are you so excited you can't speak?" My body instinctively reacted faster than words could, dodging his attempt at intimacy. I turned my head towards Jason and asked, "What did you just say?" "I said I can't wait to marry you." Jason's inner voice sounded in my ears again. "Why are you dodging? Putting on airs now when you just agreed to marry me? Just wait, when the time comes, I'll be the one escaping the wedding and leaving you at the altar. Let's see how proud you act then." I must have heard correctly. Jason was really trying to escape the wedding. Keeping my expression steady, I feigned discomfort with a smile, brushed off Jason's subsequent invitations, and hurried home. Collapsed on the sofa, a dull pain slowly overwhelmed my entire body. Uncontrollable tears poured out as agony, accompanied by a chilling numbness, swept over me. Jason and I met after being bound by the lie detector system. This system's function is simple. Whenever someone tries to deceive me with lies, it automatically identifies and reveals their true thoughts. It's hard to say whether this is a blessing or a curse. After all, both human nature and the sun are impossible to stare at directly. At the beginning of our relationship, I often saw through some inconsequential little lies Jason told, thanks to the system. For example, when he was pursuing me, the coincidental encounters, like pretending it was on his way when he actually took a detour to meet me, or claiming it was happenstance when he deliberately bought tickets to my favorite concert. Or later, like when he wasn't as generous as he claimed and used coupons while settling the bill, said he was on his way when he had just woken up in bed, or insisted he wasn't angry while secretly sulking in jealousy. They were all trivial matters, hardly enough to shake my relationship with Jason, so I didn't really dwell on them. I remained confident in our bond. But today the system's reading of Jason's inner thoughts was genuine, confirmed not just once, but twice. Yet why would he try to humiliate me? Why did he suddenly stop loving me, and why choose this way to hurt me? Countless questions swirled chaotically in my mind, leaving me utterly bewildered. I didn't understand. I was only stationed away for a 2-month business trip. It was supposed to be a long-awaited reunion where my lover proposed. How did it turn into sudden betrayal and revenge? What on earth happened? I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Then I sent Jason a text. "I'm sorry, but I'm really not feeling well. Might be the exhaustion from the long trip. How about this? I've reserved a table at Chef Eaton restaurant. Let's meet for lunch tomorrow?" The reply came quickly, "Okay, fiancé." Gazing at Jason's deliberate change in how he addressed me, I tightened my grip on my phone. At the very least, I need to rely on the lie detector system to uncover the truth of Jason's betrayal and revenge. "How have you been without me these past 2 months? Does it feel like a long-lost freedom?" At the dinner table, I smiled and teased Jason with a playful look on my face. Jason immediately shook his head. "How could that be? I wish you could finish your assignment and come back right away." I miss you so much. The system detected this as a lie, and a voice echoed in my ear, ugh, it's only been 2 months. Didn't they say overtime till the end of June? What a crappy company, almost caught me off guard. Whatever, better to deal with it sooner than later. The disdain in Jason's inner voice really hurt me. I took a deep breath, lowered my head, and pretended to be shy as I teased him, why did you suddenly decide to propose? You didn't even give me a heads up. You really caught me off guard. Can't help it, I love you too much. I just couldn't wait to make you my lawful wife. I didn't look up, but his voice rang in my ears again, if Lillian hadn't insisted on giving you an unforgettable humiliation before agreeing to marry me, who would be willing to propose to you? Lillian? I recognized the name almost instinctively. He was referring to my stepsister from the same father, Lillian. Following this clue, I gradually uncovered the entire truth of the matter. Lillian and I had never gotten along. My mother was my father's first wife, yet Lillian was older than me. To me, Lillian and her mother were nothing more than the mistress who was elevated to wife status and her illegitimate daughter. Lillian even had the audacity to believe that it was my mother and I who ruined her happy life, that my mother refused to divorce, forcing her to live most of her life under the stigma of being a bastard child, while I harbored nothing but utter disgust for the mother and daughter pair. After my mother passed away and my father divided the estate, I inherited all of my mother's assets. Due to pressure from my mother's family, I also received the largest share from my father's side, which made Lillian so envious that she opposed me at every turn. Things had only recently started to improve a little. I initially thought this mother-daughter pair had changed their ways, but now it seems they were just saving their big move for this moment. Showing up at the wedding venue with my fiancé and eloping, what a way to get back at me for all the humiliation I've caused her over the years. If not for my ability to hear Jason's inner thoughts, they might have actually succeeded. As I looked at the Vesper Group acquisition proposal on my desk, I picked up my phone and dialed a number. Jet, I agree to the Vesper Group acquisition plan you proposed last week. But in exchange, you'll need to assign Sophia to me. The man on the phone seemed to have just woken up, his voice heavy with a nasal tone. Victoria? Changing your mind all of a sudden isn't like you. I swirled the red wine in my glass thoughtfully, a wedding gift for someone. I heard from Sophia that you got engaged. Congratulations. Is it for you and Jason? I let out a light laugh, my tone eerily excited. No, for my fiancé and my sister. There was a brief silence on the other end of the phone, as if the person was slowly processing the matter with a brain that had just booted up. Their voice sounded much clearer than before. Apologies, I've already sent Sophia a transfer notice. Looking forward to your good news. Pleasure doing business with you. Pleasure doing business with you. Jet is the manager of Tanning Capital. My previous business trip was because our company's in-depth collaboration with Tanning required my personal involvement. As for the shares in Vesper Group, I've long wanted to get rid of them. My father has no talent for management. Vesper Group's growth and success were entirely thanks to my mother. Now, its revenue is declining day by day. I originally didn't intend to bother with this messy affair, letting it perish on its own. After all, I couldn't care less about those measly dividends from the shares. But since Lillian and Jason have pushed their filth right to my doorstep, don't blame me for shoving their garbage right back into their mouths. As for why I asked Jet for Sophia, no particular reason. Sophia has spent years mingling in elite social circles both domestically and abroad. When it comes to stirring up drama, exacting revenge, or putting on a show, it's as effortless as eating or drinking for her. If Jason can ditch the wedding, then so can I, Victoria. Sophia excels in her field and is also part of Tannen's circle. She'll even help me handle business operations here in Highshire, making it a win-win situation. After briefly explaining my plan to Sophia, the phone call immediately followed. That's so cool, absolutely brilliant this plan, you're simply, exceptionally clever. I was momentarily stunned by the sudden praise. Sophia, stop watching those ridiculous soap operas from now on. Jason and I both had ulterior motives. The wedding date was set in haste, and Jason was also busy preparing with Lillian, striving to give me the most spectacular humiliation. As for me, I was currently preoccupied with secretly acquiring Vesper Group and couldn't be bothered to see Jason. Due to the system reading, Jason now lies with almost every sentence. The thoughts in my ears are as noisy as telegrams, giving me a headache, complemented by Jason's insincere face. I was already annoyed by work. On the wedding day, I had invited almost every notable figure in the city to attend, even bringing in 2 reporters. The main goal was to dominate the narrative. True to form, Lillian didn't disappoint me. Despite Vesper Group's recent heavy losses, she still splurged on a top-tier evening gown from Italy. The moment she put it on, she was radiant, catching the unblinking gaze of Jason beside me. I poked him gleefully, not minding stirring the pot. Jason, do you think my wedding dress is prettier, or hers? Victoria, of course yours. You're the most beautiful woman today. The voice in my ear chimed in, the dress you're wearing for your own wedding isn't even as expensive as someone else's evening gown. And yet people at the cocktail party kept calling you a top-tier socialite. You're barely better than those finishing school graduates. Why bother putting on such a lavish front all the time? Lillian sauntered over with a graceful smile and said, sorry, little sister. I really didn't mean to steal your thunder just by attending your wedding. But really, it's your big day, how come you couldn't even afford a custom-made gown? I heard Lillian's inner voice ring in my ears, that's it? You used to brag about how rich you were, but now it seems like a joke. Your life doesn't even compare to mine. And soon, you'll be abandoned by your fiancé because of me, how pathetic. I wonder if you'll still be able to laugh by then. Lillian's gaze finally flickered toward Jason, lingering with a deliberately obvious affection, as if afraid I wouldn't notice. I rolled my eyes. The tension between them was so thick you could pull it like taffy, yet they still pretended not to be close. I remembered the video Sophia had sent me 2 hours earlier. Those two had just been passionately entangled in the restroom, practically trying to suck the dead skin off each other's lips. I shuddered. It was only when Sophia came to tell me the wedding was about to start and called me to take my place that I was finally rescued from their sickeningly sweet atmosphere. When the officiant asked us to take our vows, I suppressed my nausea and looked into Jason's affectionate eyes. Mr. Jason. Do you take Miss Victoria to be your wife, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and cherish till death do you part? I don't. He doesn't. I refuse. 3 voices rang out simultaneously, Jason, Lillian, and, most shockingly to everyone present, mine as the bride. Lillian's slow, deliberate steps toward the wedding altar faltered, a sudden sense of foreboding creeping into her heart. I tore off my veil, snatched the microphone from the host, and declared, I've had enough of you 2 filthy cheaters. Lillian, did your homewrecker mother only teach you how to be a mistress? If the whole family is like this, maybe your mom should check if there's something wrong with her ancestral grave. Oh, and you impotent scumbag, trash with delusions of grandeur. Messing around with my sister is one thing, but you're also the type who doesn't own up to your actions. Your useless, crumbling skills are like an illegal building about to collapse. Without my connections, would your company even look twice at you? Trying to live off someone else while acting tough, huh? With that sorry face, you thought you could jilt me at the altar and humiliate me? You're not worthy. Go ahead and marry each other, I won't stoop to marrying such trash. Without giving them time to react, I hiked up my skirt and dashed outside. Blind idiots, this was a collector's piece by a top designer. Who runs away in a wedding train? You'd probably trip and kill yourself. At the same time, Sophia successfully projected the video of those two getting intimate in the lounge 2 hours ago onto the big screen from the console, causing low gasps among the banquet guests below. Nobody had time to pay attention to the people on stage anymore. It was at this moment that the MC, somewhat dumbfounded, finally snapped out of his daze as he watched my retreating figure and exclaimed, "The bride has run away from the wedding." Nearly every guest below had their phones out, capturing this sensational scene. To ensure clarity, Sophia had already made 2 copies and sent them to her media friends on site. I guarantee that within 2 hours, everyone in Haishi's social circles would be feasting on this juicy gossip. Those who love stirring the pot even posted follow-up videos on their social media feeds. Lillian had crafted a full 3,000-word declaration of true love for this runaway wedding. And now, here she was, holding the microphone, standing stiffly on stage with Jason in the video, both looking like telephone poles that had wandered away from home. Jason reacted faster than Lillian. Standing on the stage, he stiffened his neck and kept up appearances by declaring, "In that case, why don't we just make today my wedding with Lillian? After all, we're deeply in love." Before Jason could finish, someone cut off the microphone's wireless signal. Facing Jason's murderous glare, the staff member awkwardly explained, "Sorry, but your time's up. Victoria paid for everything, and the rental ends right now. If you'd like to say more, you'll need to pay for an extra 30 minutes first." All those wedding arrangements belonged to Sophia. My escape was the signal to drop everything. In the blink of an eye, the violin playing stopped, the little cakes were no longer being made, the small servers vanished, and even the carefully set-up stage was dismantled. The whole scene epitomized the phrase, "When the man leaves, the tea goes cold." So, in front of everyone, Jason ended up standing on stage, stubbornly pulling out his phone to pay for an extra half hour. Meanwhile, chaos erupted below, and Lillian was so furious she sat on the edge of the stage and cried. "Miss, sorry to bother you, but time's up, we need to dismantle the stage. Could you please move your, seat?" Lillian had never experienced such a humiliating moment in her life. She wailed all the way back to the dressing room. Seeing this, Jason had no choice but to give up the fight, abandoning the microphone he'd just paid for another 30 minutes, and followed behind to console her. As for the guests, they had long since trickled away in 2s and 3s. "Your move was absolutely ruthless, ha ha ha. When Sophia called me, I was preparing to board my flight. Don't these two love playing runaway brides? Well, now the tables are turned. Let's see how these idiots handle it when the feast suddenly ends." Sophia's keyboard clattered furiously on the other end. "All right, leave the rest to me. Have a safe flight. By the time you land, you should see the little surprise I've prepared for you." The flight to Moscow wasn't long, and by the time I got off the plane, I already knew what Sophia was referring to as a little surprise. The wedding video had already surpassed 1 million likes on the short-form video platform, with a title that read, "The Love Story of an Impotent Man and a Mistress." On another platform, the buzz was even hotter, featuring an unexpectedly hilarious topic, business prodigy Jason, cheating and impotent. Sophia must have timed her call perfectly. As soon as I answered, her voice was brimming with excitement. "Huh. Pretty clever, right? This headline is perfect. He can't prove he's normal, but not denying it is like admitting he's actually impotent." When I saw him dropping Lillian off at Vesper Group today, lots of people were giving him awkward smirks. I smiled and liked that short video. Jason had an extremely strong sense of pride. When he was pursuing me, he often pretended to be someone he wasn't to impress me. Occasionally, when I read his thoughts, I would tactfully decline those expensive gifts and lavish spending. If a man becomes famous for such reasons, wouldn't that just mean he's notoriously incompetent? It was simply like subjecting Jason to death by 1,000 cuts, a humiliating death where his mouth was gagged, not allowing him to make a sound or explain. I really don't know if he's impotent or not, but now I'm sure many people would like to know. Then Sophia sent me a document and a video. Today, the chairman specially convened a meeting. During this period, Vesper Group's market value and revenue have already plummeted due to the contractions you and Tanning Capital implemented. Now, the public opinion is extremely distorted. The older sister stealing the younger sister's fiancé, and what's worse, the older sister is the illegitimate daughter of a mistress nanny. Forget the platform comments, even the company's email inbox is flooded with hate mail. As soon as the market opened this morning, Vesper Group's market value evaporated $3 billion outright. Your dad was so furious he immediately slapped Lillian twice across the face. Her face swelled up, and he kept pointing at her nose, cursing her for being shameless and dragging everyone down with her. Your dad's really ruthless, consider that a bit of revenge on your behalf." I scoffed. "Him? He's just upset about his money. Without me and my mom, he'd never be able to manage this mess alone. Sophia, I'll sign the stock power of attorney over to you in a moment. You'll handle everything from here on out. And don't hold back. After all, there are indeed 2 homewreckers to deal with in this family, and likewise, 2 cheating scumbags." Hearing Sophia's firm reply, I turned off my phone with peace of mind and settled into bed to rest. If I didn't shut it off, that crowd back in Haishur would probably bombard me with calls, practically chasing me all the way to Moscow. At this point, sleep came first. As expected, when I woke up, over 50 missed calls flooded in. Jason, Lillian, and even my so-called father had personally called me. Looks like Sophia really went all out. Right then, Lillian's call popped up on the screen, and I swiped to answer. "Victoria, what good does driving down Vesper Group's stock price do for you? You hold more shares than I do. Recklessly suppressing Vesper Group like this will only leave us all struggling in the end. Tell that Sophia to back off now." Through the receiver, Lillian's inner voice echoed in my ears, "This madwoman, if the stock keeps plummeting, Vesper Group will collapse. How am I supposed to break into high society then?" Lillian's voice was as annoying as ever, and I didn't hold back. "So what if the stock drops? I don't care about the money. The shares in Vesper Group aren't even enough to cover my monthly revenue. Why don't you look up Tanning Capital and see how much I hold in that company?" There was the sound of keyboard tapping, and Lillian fell silent all of a sudden. "Done checking? Cat got your tongue? Did eating plain rice with your homewrecker mother for a few years make you think you're really something special? I can't even be bothered to look at you, yet you have the audacity to annoy me? Did I scold Jason more than you at the wedding, giving you the illusion that I still see you as a sister? An illegitimate child shamelessly whitewashing her homewrecker mother. Do you really think high society looks up to you?" With that, I hung up cleanly, not bothering to entertain her any longer. Capitalism has never been a market that operates on sentimentality, and Sophia was all the more wielding the scythe of Tanning Capital, pressing it against Vesper Group's neck. The moment blood was drawn, my so-called father actually reached out to me. What astonished me even more was that the person speaking was Jason. "Currently, the decision-making at Vesper Group is temporarily under my responsibility. Victoria, your father is ill." Silence filled my ears. Jason, for once, wasn't lying to me. "I just found out about the connection between Tanning Capital and you. No matter what, this is your father's lifelong effort after all. I hope you can be lenient. If you agree, I'm willing to marry you." I laughed in anger. "Oh, I'm willing to marry you, Jason? Who the hell do you think you are? How much do you think you're worth? A freeloader who couldn't even find a job without my help dares to act like you're doing me a favor by making demands?" I always knew exactly where to strike to hurt the most. Jason had experienced poverty, and his pride was especially fragile. During our time together, I had carefully tiptoed around it, ever mindful, ever cautious, thanks to the system that let me hear his innermost thoughts. But now, I only regretted not stabbing deeper. Even in Lillian's eyes, you're just a pathetic tool to humiliate me. You really think you're that desirable? If it weren't for the fact that I once loved you, you'd be nothing. Jason, you're disgusting and worthless." I snapped the phone shut, exhaling a heavy sigh of pent-up frustration from my chest. The grievances and pain I had suppressed for so long finally began to dissipate in that moment. Almost without any suspense, Tanning successfully acquired Vesper Group. My father, as a result, became terminally ill from the blow. On the night 3 days before his death, I received his call. "I'm sorry, it's Dad's fault." Save those words. You should say them to Mom personally when you meet her down there. I mercilessly tore open the truth he was trying to sugarcoat with one sentence. After a 3-second pause, I hung up the phone. The moment I received his obituary, all I felt was an unusual calm, a lightness that came from letting go of all the past. Those who betray love must face retribution. What happened later, I heard from Sophia's mouth after all. Someone like her, who mingles in high society circles, would hardly qualify without a knack for gossip. Did you know Jason and Lillian got married? He's probably still holding a grudge against you in his heart. The wedding decorations and venue were all modeled after your wedding back then, even the guest list was copied exactly. But times have changed, and many people didn't show up. More than half the seats were left empty. Just talking about this cracks me up. Where does Lillian even get the money for all this now? The only funds she has are from selling her Vesper Group shares at rock-bottom prices, cutting corners left and right. People who attended said it was basically a shabby version of your wedding. But Lillian's attitude toward Jason is genuinely awful. She keeps embarrassing him in front of so many people, giving him dirty looks and making him lose face publicly multiple times. My hand, which had been revising the proposal, paused as confusion struck me. Huh? But isn't Jason the type with a really strong sense of pride? Times have changed. Jason is just a kept man now. After he fell out with you, he got fired from the company, and no other company would hire him. Lillian ended up investing a lot of money to start a business with him. In a way, she's his boss now. But honestly, that company doesn't look promising either. Lillian loves bossing people around but has no clue about the business, and the whole setup looks pretty shabby. They only have about 2 departments worth of people, relocated from Vesper Group. Their scale is even smaller than the shredder at our company's entrance. Sophia's words drew a faint smile from me, and I teased, hold on. Our company's shredder is the real deal, not some piece of junk. After gossiping for a while longer, we hung up. The ones who deserved to die are dead, and those who deserved humiliation have been thoroughly disgraced. I thought this whole ordeal was finally over. But I never expected that at the celebration banquet I attended upon returning home at the end of the month, I would run into Jason again. He was stopped outside the venue, anxiously explaining something to the security personnel. It seemed like they had been arguing for a while. I really do have an invitation, I just left it in my hotel room. Let me in first. I need to discuss an urgent, important investment with Mason inside. A voice sounded in my ear. If I don't secure this investment, the company is really going to go under. I absolutely must see Mason today. The security personnel over there also looked helpless. I'm sorry, I really can't let you in without an invitation. I hope you understand. This time, I even heard the security guard's inner thoughts. Can't they come up with a different excuse? This is already the 5th one today. As if drawn by some unseen force, Jason turned his head and looked over. From a distance, our eyes met. My thoughts racing, I stepped forward and said to the guard at the door, let him in. Jason seemed surprised that I would help him, looking at me with a complicated gaze. After a long pause, he simply said, thank you. I nodded without responding. My presence immediately drew the attention of all the guests present, who quickly closed in around me, smiling and eagerly trying to strike up conversations with me. Jason was soon lost in the crowd, probably looking for his friend Mason. I recalled that Mason was a deputy manager at one of our subsidiary companies. Under the spotlight, I stood on stage delivering a speech with infectious enthusiasm. Every smile or subtle gesture of mine was met with a wave of applause and cheers from the audience below. In the corner at the edge of the venue, Jason and I seemed to lock eyes for the briefest moment. Less than a second later, I averted my gaze and exited the scene amid the bustling crowd. This is the perfect revenge I've carefully planned for Jason, everything he could have easily possessed but chose to destroy himself. Because true revenge is never served hot, it's always a cold dish. The month-long summit is coming to an end, and Jason coincidentally bumped into me again at the cafe near the hotel. Quite a coincidence, mind if we talk? His inner voice echoed in my ear. Finally, the moment has come. I nodded silently, calmly watching him, waiting for Jason to speak. I'm sorry. Lillian was my mistake. I planned to humiliate you by running away from the wedding just to please her. I don't expect your forgiveness now, but I owe you an apology. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have left Heischer. I didn't give him another chance to waste my time and cut off his guilt-ridden confession. I accept your apology, but I don't want to forgive you. Jason across the table seemed somewhat unwilling to give up, then continued, Lillian and I have already agreed to divorce, and the company has officially entered bankruptcy proceedings. It's just that I suddenly remembered recently how we used to negotiate deals together, discuss clients, analyze strategies. I set down my cup and replied in an almost indifferent tone, I'm sorry, even if you're divorced now, I don't think we're at the kind of relationship where we can confide in each other. I've already paid for your coffee. My assistant is waiting for me outside, so goodbye. As I passed by Jason, I coldly tossed out one last remark, don't pull those old tricks anymore in the future. Goodbye. Without sparing him another glance, I went straight into the car. Whether we meet again or not, it doesn't matter anymore. I am like a broken bone growing inside his body, aching dully and impossible to remove. The more I struggle, the deeper it embeds, and the more I regret, leaving no choice but to let the wound fester and erode my heart. Only what is forever lost and hardest to obtain is truly the best. In his memory, I will always remain the most perfect lover. I once truly loved Jason, but now, that love is gone for real. As for those business-related social interactions that could easily be avoided, my assistant does their best to prevent any encounters with him. It's been effortless because now, Jason and I are separated by an entire world's distance. In the next moment, I will embrace a brand new life. I never expected that, years later, the one who would finally stay in Heischer would be Sophia. She seemed to have fallen in love with this place, and the happiest time of her day was eagerly sharing all sorts of gossip with me, whether big or small. Haha, you wouldn't believe it, that Lillian didn't know the first thing about investing but insisted on doing it anyway. Now, she's lost every penny, even forfeited 2 of her villas. Parents in the circle are using her as a cautionary tale. They'd rather have their kids stay dependent than let them venture into entrepreneurship. Just the other day, I saw her listing her designer bags for sale. She must really be broke now. Her mother is just as amusing, still trying to play the old game, if she can't land a big tycoon, she'll settle for a smaller one. But she ended up running into a fierce daughter-in-law. She loved wearing low-cut tops to seduce old men, hoping to get married and inherit their money, only to get beaten up by the man's daughter-in-law. She was hospitalized for 3 months, and that old geezer didn't lift a finger, she had to pay the medical bills herself. Absolutely hilarious. Sophia moved closer with a smirk, elbowing me playfully as she said, Jason, let's just say he's been living under your shadow all these years. I responded with a somewhat confused signaling for Sophia to continue. You two only got to know each other because of similar career paths in the first place. Even if your focus isn't on the coastal city anymore, these companies still have to consider your past connection. You've never made any public statements about it either. So Jason's company has always been just getting by. I nodded to show I was listening, but only managed to add a brief comment, a shame. A greedy talent biting off more than he could chew, a scholarship boy climbing up by trampling on sincere feelings. I couldn't even bring myself to call him pitiful, brushing it off with just a single shame. Just karma. Jason had to take it. Noticing my discomfort at the mention of Jason, Sophia added more water to my teacup and smoothly changed the subject with a smile. We've talked so much, but I forgot to ask, what brings you back this time? Hearing this, I gently handed an invitation to Sophia with tender eyes. I'm getting married, and I'm back to invite you to the wedding. Sophia raised an eyebrow, looking somewhat puzzled. Who could you be marrying? Your social circle is so small, and I haven't heard of any new romantic encounters. You must be joking. Under my mysterious smile, Sophia seemed to guess something, widening her eyes in disbelief. No way, no way. Yes, I'm getting married to Jet. I never thought Jason and I would meet again. Sorry, I heard you were back, so I came to see you, just. Faced with Jason's awkwardness, I was surprisingly calm. Oh, I came back to get married this time, to deliver wedding invitations to my friends. The man's eyes suddenly dimmed, and he bit his lip as if struggling to speak. Married? You're getting married? Jason repeated it twice, and I simply nodded lightly. It was clear that my wedding did not include him in the guest list, and I was just quietly waiting for this uninvited guest to finish speaking. Jason seemed to have made up his mind, his gaze firm despite the trembling in his voice. Right now. I've sent you many emails, but you never replied. My tone carried a hint of impatience as I retorted, after all these years in the workforce, you should know the purpose of a work email, shouldn't you? If you have something to say it directly. My time is precious. Jason fell silent for a long moment before speaking again, this time with gravity. Victoria, I truly want to marry you. Frankly, I was almost amused by his brazen and arrogant words. Even now, clinging to the last shred of his pride to come say such things to me, I couldn't tell whether he'd woken up to love me or was simply obsessed. Looking at him with disdain, I smirked and asked, brother-in-law, what nonsense are you spouting? I merely accepted your apology, I never forgave you. And yet, here you are, shamelessly spouting such bold words on the eve of my wedding. Don't you find it disgraceful? Did you actually want to marry me? What, were there times you only pretended to? Jason was visibly shaken by my blunt words, the color draining further from his face. I let out a long sigh and softened the mood at just the right moment, even though it was an escape from marriage. After all, it's you and Lillian who kept trending. Aside from your betrayal, I didn't suffer any real harm. Looking back now, it's just a very complicated chapter in my life. Jason, I don't understand what's going through your mind right now. Our relationship was a thing of the past long ago. Whether it's love or reluctance from your side, I want you to know there's no possibility of us getting back together. Jason, it's too late, and I'm not talking about the time. We missed our chance long ago. Jason seemed to take a long time to digest those words before finally nodding and giving me a faint smile, his eyes noticeably reddening. I understand. Sorry for bothering you again. It won't happen in the future. Jason handed me a book from his inner bag. With just a glance, I could see the pages were worn, suggesting he had caressed and read it countless times, something he carried with him always. I came in a hurry and didn't prepare anything. Consider this book as a wedding gift, he said. As my fingers brushed the pages, memories flooded back to years ago when I stubbornly chose to gain experience at the grassroots level. Amid the grueling work, I occasionally sought solace in bookstores to recharge. Excuse me, I'm sorry. That book in your hands is actually mine. If you look closely, you'll find a bookmark inside. I hurriedly flipped through the papers, somewhat awkwardly apologizing. Sorry, I was in too much of a hurry. It's fine. It's raining outside, and seeing you dash straight out, let me lend you an umbrella. And so, love sprouted on a damp, moldy rainy day. You actually remember it all so clearly. I carefully placed the book into my bag and nodded at Jason. I truly love this book. Thank you. Well, goodbye then. Jason and I actually managed to say goodbye to each other calmly. But we both knew clearly that in this long lifetime, for us, this was already the last time we would meet. Jason could never free himself from my shadow throughout his life in the city. Regret is like a bookmark of growth, and I was pressed onto the page that hurt Jason the most. Like the sycamore tree dragged away by the roadside, the heart may stand hollow yet barely upright. Passers-by think it might sprout again come spring, but in truth, it died that winter. I suppose this was my final punishment for Jason. The phone beside me rang, it was Jet. I swiped to answer. Victoria. How about choosing JC's custom crystal high heels as the wedding shoes this time? I picked up the phone and softly replied, that pair will do. After hanging up, I placed the old book into the fireplace and watched it burn to ashes. Outside the window, snow fell silently. Jason stood under the streetlight, gazing up at me for a long time. I turned off the light and drew the curtains. From then on, he remained in the city, lingering in the corner of my vision. I went to a place far away, to live a life that had nothing to do with them. What needed to be settled was settled, what needed to be let go of was let go. I turned around, my wedding dress sparkling in the morning light. A new life begins today.